The Tyranny of Choice by Barry Schwartz. So the following essay is a continuation of the compare and contrast genre. Now, Barry Schwartz's essay here, The Tyranny of Choice, is an essay that can most definitely be applied to other genres. But for purposes of this presentation, I am choosing to illustrate how the compare and contrast genre is certainly one of, if not the best approach uh, for Barry Schwartz's essay here. Okay, so let's observe his argument. Freedom within limits, choice within constraints is indeed liberating. But if the fishbowl gets shattered, if the constraints disappear, freedom of choice can turn into a tyranny of choice. So you notice one of the things about his essay here is the manner in which he illustrates this tug and pull, subject being choice, and in one sense, by status quo ideals, is that hey, choice is good. What's wrong with choice? Whoever said choice was a bad thing, right? And he acknowledges it. He says it's liberating. Now remember, when composing an expository essay, you're doing yourself a favor if you reveal a strong argument or a very clear argument. And Barry Schwartz, in his essay, he certainly does that by countering that perspective of choice as a good, liberating process. And he says, "Look, if we remove, let's shatter this fishbowl. Let's remove the constraints. Then, oh yeah, guess what? Freedom of choice is now turning into a tyranny of choice." And so let's observe how he supports this. The argument is certainly in place. We've got the two clear perspectives regarding choice. So now he has to exemplify it. You see how we think about the exemplification genre, it carries over a little bit onto the compare and contrast genre. Now he's gonna illustrate this for us. So the first example he provides is with reference to the modern university. And he says, the modern university has become a kind of intellectual shopping mall. Well, gosh, this social endeavor, right? This humanistic social endeavor of education has now, it's now, and it, it's very clear, right? We shouldn't be surprised by this, but education's, look, it's very much like a business, um, an intellectual shopping mall. So how so? How so? I didn't know this until actually Barry Schwartz's essay educates me on this, and he shares how you have certain how students can go to a great deal of universities and shop for their not just their classes, but you can shop for your instructor. And this is incredible. I mean, I didn't realize this was possible. So you, the student, can walk into a class, sit there for 10 minutes, experience what your professor is going to be like, and and then move on to the next class and have another professor teach you for 10 minutes. And so you're in essence shopping, indeed shopping for your class. Well, in one sense, it sounds great, right? In one sense, it sounds great. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm taking a class where the chemistry between the professor and myself are great, where it's working out. Um, I'm tempering the type of individual he is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, how truthful is that? If we reflect a little bit and we say, what's the truth behind this, my shopping experience here? um, is the performance that the professor is giving me in these 10 minutes, Is this going to be sustainable for an entire semester? I mean, we're hoping it is. We're hoping the integrity of the professor and the truthfulness of the professor is in place. Um, but isn't it still somewhat of a gamble, anyways? Right? Um, so it's interesting. And it's also in reference to the multiplicity of choices that not only with a degree plan that you're choosing to select, but also with the multiplicity of subcategories within a degree plan. If you take biology, now there's microbiology, there's bioinformatics, there's combinations between computer science and biology. I mean, it's really interesting. And is it a bad thing? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have these choices because the more we learn about stuff, the more we learn about things, the more we realize we have to make adjustments in our studies. But, are there some degree plans out there that maybe are questionable or really not? Um, Job market really isn't, you know, very open to some of these, I would say, questionable degree plans of sorts. Anyways, he's using the university here also as kind of like a baseline for illustrating how um, if in education we have the shopping mall status of things, then guess what? It's certainly evident everywhere else. This explosion of choice in the university is a reflection of a pervasive social trend, but also in the products they buy and in virtually all aspects of life. So he's referring, of course, to consumption. And if you go to the store, well, you go to the cereal aisle. How many different cereals are there? Yeah. Go to the toothpaste aisle. Buy some jeans. Fast food. How many fast food joints are out there? I mean, it's incredible. And cell phones. Uh, he's got a video, the paradox of choice TED Talk video, and he illustrates both. He gives the example of cell phones, and he says, it's going to get to a point where those cell phones are going to have a blowtorch and a nail filer. I can't recall exactly what he refers to in terms of the cell phones, but he's not met. He's of course being he's of course being creative and metaphorical in his explanations. But guess what? He actually isn't being too metaphorical. Isn't it the point where now cell phones are so advanced they can do uh, quite a bit of things, right? Smartphones now they're called. He also gives a really interesting example about genes. He says, and he gives an example, and I referred to this in one of my other presentations, but he says, you go to the store, and it used to be where you went to the store and there was only two different types of jeans. And I tried them on, and one of them certainly fit better than the other, and that was it. And it doesn't mean it was the best fitting pair of jeans, but guess what? I was happy. And why was I happy? I was happy because there was nothing else. My expectations were generally, um, low. I had low expectations. I didn't. There wasn't much else for me to do, so I was satisfied. Because today you go to the store, and now how many different types of jeans are there? Um, and I'm like, tell me about it. I went to the store one day, it's a while ago, but and I looked at all these Levi's, for example. I looked at all these labels for Levi's: 511, 514, 527, 569, 501, 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just Levi's. What about the other brands? And it's I mean, it's It's massive. It's very broad. And he says, I invested like 45 minutes or so, and I bought myself some jeans. And yes, they were the best fitting pair of jeans I could ever obtain. But guess what? I wasn't happy. Why wasn't I happy? Because, gosh, if I invested so much time, effort, money, then I want to ensure that these jeans I have here are the best possible fitting pair of jeans. And they were. They were the best fitting pair of jeans at the time. But I kept thinking, could I have done better? So this idea of maximizing, right? Maximizing your investment, um, because expectations have gone up, you're not quite there. You don't, at least psychologically, you feel that, could I have done better? You keep asking yourself. Even if you're a satisficer, somebody who's just generally satisfied with whatever comes his or her way, even then, psychologically, you're still affected by this broadening of choices. So you see the burdens on you. Gosh, you want to feel like, because there is so much choice, you selected the best possible product, service, degree, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Have you maximized? And if there's too much choice, then you may certainly feel overwhelmed with just this general feeling that maybe you didn't quite maximize your efforts. Okay. Ultimately, choice is supposed to give us happiness. If it empowers me, it liberates me, then certainly I must have power. And by status quo um, um, agreements, that would seem to be the case, right? Well, Barry Short says, think again. Because you have mass choice, because expectations are up, um, then burdens also go up. To illustrate, he gives an example of a doctor, and it's I've also personally experienced this, where you go to the doctor and he diagnoses you, and he says, okay, look, you've got an allergy, or you've got some condition. It doesn't have to be too serious. He says, um, this is what I diagnosed you with, and this is what you can do about it. You decide. As exemplified by Ray Schwartz, he says, well, doc, gosh, I trust you. You're the expert in this. What do you suggest? What would you do? He says, well, it's up to you, and you can choose between this and you can choose between that. Okay, doc, but if you were me, what would you select? And the doctor says, well, I'm not you. And I'm basically just echoing Barry Schwartz's example here. I'm not you. So the burden is on you to decide. So given that responsibility, it comes to be that the rate of serious clinical depression has more than tripled. At least this is the correlation that Barry Schwartz is making, which is very interesting. Well, he ends his essay with an interesting example about the fishbowl, and he says, from a superficial glance, you're assuming you have your mother fish and the baby fish, and the mother fish says you can be anything you want to be, and he refers to the mother fish as slightly myopic, very narrow-minded. But then he says, look, the mother might be onto something, because if you remove that fishbowl, I may very the constraints of the fishbowl, I may very well be harming my poor child. And I say, yeah, the possibilities are endless. Oh gosh, yeah, they might be, but once I get out there and actually realize that they are endless, then oh dear, I might be in for a burdensome, not so easy experience. So this is a very interesting essay, and so I hope this has helped you. It is one account of Barry Schwartz's essay with regards to the compare and contrast genre. I hope it's been beneficial for you, and thank you for watching.